Hello fellow tactician, in this video I'm going to make a review on one player who is master on the Garena server. I'm going to highlight the biggest moments where he could have played better. I think in this video there are a lot of good information of decision and rolling timing that people need to master in order to have the potential to get to Grandmaster at least. In this weekly series I'm going to make one short video just like this one. I'm just going to show you the most important moments and highlights that you guys should be aware of, and if you are interested in watching the whole game and the uncut and unedited video, I'll put the link in the description. I'm just going to make the video unlisted and then hopefully you will be able to climb. Alright, let's start immediately to watch the game and see the biggest moments to remember during stage 1 and stage 2. So the first big event, of course, is the augments. So the idea here is like, if you watched it correctly, just before he had one chain vest on Poppy and one bow and one sword. So it means usually that you want to go into heavy AD combs. The items are just great for that. And for this specific reason, I believe that weak spot has much value over anything else. But our friend here decided to go with underdogs. I think underdogs is a bit weird. Usually it's a comp, it's a trait you want to play if you are going to rework comps. Like Yorders or maybe something around Colossus. But here in this specific situation, weak spot was just better. Then what's really important to see is that he plays around the 2-star units he finds, even though it's not doesn't have any good synergies. Like it's still good to have Poppy 2 and Eli 2. It's good front line, it's a lot of health, it's difficult to kill. So until he finds either another bruiser or another bodyguard, so he can switch and have better synergy. For now, he's just playing with what the game gives him, and for now, the game gives him 2-star Poppy, 2-star Eloy, and he plays around that. So here the idea is that he found his bodyguard synergy. Great! So now he wants to scout a bit, and he does that very well. All the game he scouts a lot, and that's a really good quality. He saw someone push level 5, so he decided to do it as well. And in my opinion, this is a big mistake, because first of all, you don't add a great unit. Like you have already bodyguard, so adding one Blitzcrank doesn't change the strength of your board, or at least doesn't change it that much. Then also he doesn't use his items. Like he has a bow and a sword, so even if he pushes, he's not at 100% of his power potential. That means that if he faced the other players who's level 5, he could have lost the fight and just ruined his econ. Instead, what I would have done is stay level 4, make 10 gold, and start accumulating the econ with the thresholds. So he decided to slam Last Whisper on Talon, so it means that he wants to play something like Jhin, Yone, Urgot. So it's not the best item on Talon, but it's an okay transition to make a good carry later. So because he doesn't have IE instead, he doesn't have again 100% of his potential power, and because of that he lost this fight. So now he has a low econ, doesn't have any win streak, loss streak, so he has a bad early game because of this econ. He decided weirdly to actually remove Talon in order to play Ezreal, and that's something I would have done before finding Ezreal 2, because Ezreal 1 is definitely weaker than Talon, even with these items. So in my opinion, it's a small mistake here of optimization, because he wanted to make a transition, and that's something that you guys have to be careful of. Whenever you make a transition, make sure that your board is not weaker than before, because this is not a transition if you do it. Fortunately, he found Ezreal 2, so this small mistake I was talking about earlier is not such a big mistake, but he could have get heavily punished here, because let's say he could have potentially played with Talon 2 and instead of Ezreal, and that would have been much better. So now let's talk about the second biggest event of the stage 3 is of course the augment, and this time is a prismatic. So let's talk about this. He has one Eloy, so he can potentially have 3 mercenaries, but since he scouts a lot, we know, at least if you watch the whole game, we know that there are a lot of mercenary players in this lobby, and it's very awkward to play mercenary, to start playing mercenary at stage 3 when there are already 2 or 3 other mercenary players. This is very awkward, so I would not suggest to have mercenary soul in stage 3 in this condition. So the other choices are either exiles or new recruit. I personally don't really like exiles before stage 4 because it requires you to spread your units, and sometimes because of that, your units will not target the same units. So basically, you're spreading out the damage because of your forced positioning, and because of that, you're not killing any units and you lose fights very hard. So that's why I'm not such a fan of exile, even though it's not a bad thing for the late game. So that's why I will go for new recruit, and that's what our friend is doing as well. So now that he has 7 units on the bench, on the board, sorry, but the problem is that his synergies are not exactly perfect. Okay, he has 2 enforcers, 2 scrap, 2 breezer, but he has 3 bodyguards, and I don't think there's any way to put 4 bodyguards. First of all, he needs to find 1 bodyguard, but if he doesn't find it, he needs to find 4 bodyguards for level 7, because at level 7 he has to make a choice, which is between a bruiser frontline or a bodyguard frontline. And it seems that the bodyguard is going to be better because he has more of them, and also because there's a lot of AD in this comp, even though there are obviously some AP, nothing is black or white, but in majority there are AD, so having bodyguards helps a lot. Okay, let's talk about this moment. I think this is a very, very important moment that many people miss it or don't play it correctly. The level 7. What do we do at level 7? Because some people will say we need to roll to stabilize, but at the same time it's hard to find the focus units. We prefer to roll at level 8 instead of level 7, and that's what everyone thinks and everyone wants. So he's rolling down. He didn't find the 4th bodyguard that he needs to have a very good frontline. Instead, he decided to play 3 mercenaries because he found GP2, he found MF2, he had already Eloy, and I'm going to say this is bad. Extremely, extremely, extremely bad. You never start playing 3 mercenaries at stage 4. Never. Unless one specific situation, which is going to happen maybe not even 1% of your games. You have Eloy, you found a lucky Tamkench, you have a breezer frontline, like with Trundle or Zac, whatever, so, and you have GP and Urgot. GP being the twin shot bot and the mercenary bot, and Urgot being your main carry. So without all of these conditions, you never play mercenaries at stage 4, or you never start mercenaries at stage 4. And he did that. So for instance, instead of this GP, he could have rolled more in order to find potentially Leona, which would have made a very strong frontline, like 4 bodyguards. And then also what he probably should have done is to roll more in order to find 1 Jhin. Because Ezreal at this point is very, very tired. Look at this, he has 74 HP. 74 HP. That's a lot of HP. We will see a bit later how it becomes. Okay, so now we're back at the augments, and we can see at stage 4-6, he lost 3 fights. 3 fights, that's all he lost. And even though he lost half of his health, he's at 38 HP now. That's a lot, and that's why if you don't stabilize hard at level 7, you just lose the game because of that. So what should you do at level 7? How would you know that you needed to roll more than what he had? Because he had a lot of 2-star units. The problem is that Ezreal is tired starting stage 4. He doesn't do much anymore starting stage 4, especially if you don't have an insane frontline, because he doesn't have 4 bodyguards. So he should have rolled down until he finds a Jhin. That's unfortunate, but that was the only way. So let's see. He decides then to pick Enforcer because he already has Underdog, so you don't want more healing, even though Underdogs is not that great. Like I would say I would have picked Weak Spot much sooner because he doesn't have anti-healing, he doesn't have... because when you play Jhin, if your frontline dies and Underdog starts to heal back your Jhin, it's already too late because you lost the fight. If units can get close to Jhin, you lost the fight. So that's why Underdogs, in my opinion, is a really bad unit on snipers, while Weak Spot is extremely valuable because it removes extra armor. It stacks with the Last Whisper, so it stacks with the Last Whisper. It's very important to know that. And also it allows you to have anti-healing on basically all the units, so you don't even need to build a Sunfire or Morello. And now he pushed with, okay, it's not written correctly, but it's 20 gold. He pushed with 20 gold. So it means that in 20 gold, he needs to find a Jhin. And I will show you how this is bad mathematically. So this is the tool. I built a role simulator in order to understand how much gold you need to spend on average in order to find a specific unit. So here we want to find a gene. It's a 4-cost unit. So here the tier is 4. Then he is level 8, right? So the shop, the level of the shop is 8. And there is no one playing Jhin. He scouts regularly, so if you watch the whole game, you will see that no one else is playing Jhin. So Jhin is completely uncontested. And around this moment, let's say that there are in total around 30 focus units out of the pool, because that's an average. It doesn't have to be perfect. So if that's the case, it means that he will get on average Jhin after 18 gold spent just on rolling, basically rolling 9 times. He had 20 gold. And if we look at the chart distribution, we can see with 16 gold, so basically the 4 gold for buying Jhin plus the 16 gold left, he has on average 63% chance to find it. It's still better than 50-50, but it's not a lot. While if he decided to roll at 4-1 to find Jhin at level 7, especially that he had a level 8 board thanks to his prismatic. Here it's level 7 and there were less focus unit out of the pool, so it makes 30 gold on average to find Jhin at level 7 if it's uncontested. And if we look at the chart, because when he was level 7 he had 50 gold available, so let's say that by selling units and buying some units he could have around 40 gold just to roll. And if that's the case, he had almost 75% chance to find Jhin. So he had more chance to find Jhin with the icon he had rather than at level 7 rather than at level 8. And this is very important because if he decided to roll at level 7, he would have not lost 38 health in 3 rounds. So he could have saved so much HP and having the same strength on his board at stage 5. That's basically saving HP, making other people lose, and making more chance for him to claim a top 1, top 2, top 3. Okay, so he pushed 20 gold. He managed to find 1 Jhin, I think next roll, here exactly, which is not high roll. And thanks to that, he managed to stabilize a bit more his board and win the next fight and stop the bleeding. So this is the level 8 roll down, I mean with the amount of gold he had. He's trying to find Jhin 2, of course, Oriana 2. He's trying to find a better frontline because now it's kind of weird. He had 3 enforcers, 3 bodyguards. So it's still a bit awkward. He managed to find his Jhin. He didn't have the time to do all the transition. But basically what he managed to do after is to find a Vi in order to have 4 enforcers. And then he removes the Darius to have Braum instead, which actually makes him stabilize very hard. And also he plays around the Zephyr, so he will build a Zephyr after, and he will position the Zephyr correctly because he scouts a lot, and that's a good quality because not a lot of master player scouts as much as him. So I think it's a good quality, and you guys should try to do the same, especially if you have things like Zephyr. Okay, so now let's talk about late game positioning, because as you can see, he managed to climb back to first of the lobby. But unfortunately for him, the fights will not go in his favor. And this is because of small positioning mistakes, even though they were really good things. So he scouts a lot, and he purposely put the Zephyr here on this place in order to not having the Kaisa applying the Morello quite fast. This is a good thing. I think what he could have done potentially is to try to Zephyr the Yone as well. But the biggest mistake here is not Zephyr on the Yone and putting the Braum far from the Yone. The Braum will never stun the Yone, and as you will see in this fight, that after the Enforcer thing, Yone is literally free. Here the Braum just casted on 1 Fiora and 1 Varvig because Kaisa wasn't even getting back from the Zephyr, so Braum didn't stun a lot of units, and because of that, Yone after was just too free. So if he put the Braum in front of the Yone, I don't know if he would have won the fight, but let's say that he would have much more chance to win the fight, or at least he would have lost less health on this fight. Alright, let's go to another positioning problem here. So the main issue is that the Jhin is in range of the Lissandra here, so he can lose a lot of AD and take a lot of damage for no reason. Also, the second biggest mistake of positioning here is the fact that Braum is in front of Tahm Kench, and you will see in this fight that Braum will just get eaten by time cache, so suddenly he doesn't have a good front line anymore, and then Braum will get back in the back line because time cache works that way. He will just spit it out at the furthest place possible, and because of that, well, Jin is suddenly at the very close to Lissandra and Jinx, sorry. So basically he can't play anymore and he lost the fight. Alright guys, that's all for today. Tell me in the comments if you like this kind of format. I try to make as short as possible but still important with a lot of value and information. So really tell me because it's the first time I do that and I need some kind of feedbacks if I want to make it better. Until then, see you at the top of the ladder.